Hey everyone, Rico Rivera here with Silicon East Real Estate Powered by Guide. And this week we have Bill, back by popular demand, Bill Miller, the CEO of MetroList, our current MLS. And I'm going to let him introduce himself real quick. Bill, tell us a little bit about you.
I don't know about the popular demand part, but I am in a position right now with what's going on. So Bill Miller, CEO of MetroList Services, been with MetroList for 26 years, and I've been the CEO now for 3 years. And happy to be here with Rico. Rico's always been a great supporter, and
Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity, Rico.
Absolutely, man. I personally, have a lot of respect for you and what you guys are doing. And I was also shocked, and this is what we're going to be talking about today. Showingtime, the partnership that was announced last week, or maybe now a week and a half ago with Showingtime and Zillow. And when I first heard about it, as a lot of my colleagues did, freaked out, felt like these guys are infiltrating us. What is going on? Why are we as the MLS letting this happen? And so, you said something last week at the SAR meeting, the weekly meeting that really took to me, and I feel like more people need to know about it. And I kind of wanted you to come here and just say what you said, And so the question would be, what's your stance on it?
Well, and I think you're referring, Rico, to our position with Zillow, correct? And Showingtime. So I guess the place to start is that we had no clue when we entered into the Showingtime agreement that Zillow was going to acquire them. And I don't even know if talks were going on at that time or not. But we had, the MLS committee had looked at Showingtime 2 or 3 years ago, and thought at that point in time the market here in the MLS service area wasn't ready for it, wasn't needed. I think that COVID tipped the scales, and so Showingtime took a run back at us with the MLS committee, and when they saw it, they go, "Yeah, this is really a very good COVID solution. It's something that some people use. It's optional. You don't have to put it on your listing. It's up to the listing agent whether or not it's made available." A lot of people didn't understand that, but there is training available. But you don't have to use it. You don't. That's your option as the listing agent.
So that's a huge misconception that I knew from the get. I thought everybody had to use it, and there was no way to turn it off. And I've actually personally have gotten some calls from real estate agents saying, "Hey man, how do we turn this thing off?" And I don't know. So you're telling me there's a way to turn it off, or a training for it?
Yeah, and you can go to, number one, you can call our tech support and they can walk you through it. Okay. Number two, if you go to the MetroList Information Center, there's a portion on Showingtime and some instructions there. So, and Rico, you're not the only one. Hundreds of our agents and brokers thought that they had to use it. So you don't.
Perfect. That's good news in the sense of, if we don't want to, we don't feel like we have to.
No, exactly. Please don't. And I guess on top of that is the fact that we crafted very good agreements with them. And we crafted those agreements with our RECAL partners now that is Prospector Plus, but the San Francisco Association of Realtors and Bay Area Real Estate Information Services, Barry's. 3 attorneys, 1 antitrust attorney, all reviewed. We took their contract, we made it what we thought was really good for the MLSs, and that's what we signed. It literally has all of the provisions in place that if they start doing anything with the data other than what it's used for scheduling appointments, they're in breach of contract, and we shut off the feed and we shut them down. They're assuring us that that's not going to happen. The Zillow agreement hasn't closed just yet, That's going to be some time. And because we weren't sure, we only signed a 2-year contract. We could have signed a longer term contract, saved us some money, but we, some of this stuff is all done behind the scenes, but we know that you guys get concerned about some of these things. Not that we knew that Zillow was coming, but we wanted to make sure because there had been some concern that maybe we didn't need the showing time, maybe the COVID made it available. So we only entered into the shortest term contract they would allow, and that was 2 years. And that started tolling in October. So October 22, we can be out of this agreement. And in the interim, we are, as combined a group of MLSs, we're tracking showing time. And the minute we see a crack where something goes sideways, we'll jump in breach, give notice, cut off all the feeds to them. I mean, we're sitting waiting for that. There was another acquisition that caused a lot of concern, not as much as this one, but HomeSnap, which the mobile app that lots of people use. In fact, it was the quickest adoption of any app that MetroList has ever released. We got up to huge numbers very quickly. And but they were acquired by CoStar, which CoStar is also out like Zillow, billion-dollar corporation, up in the $50 billion, lots of money. And they've been in the commercial real estate space with CoStar and LoopNet for years, so they know the listing business a bit. But again, we went back, reviewed our contracts, and at least as long as those contracts are in place, we feel comfortable that they'll live up to the letter of the contract.
And I think the biggest difference between what happened with Zillow Group and CoStar is Zillow Group in the real estate residential market is huge, right? They're a mammoth, a giant. And so CoStar, although it's huge, it's not as huge in the residential real estate business. And so, when you hear about them purchasing that, it wasn't such a big deal because we didn't feel like we were being attacked. And that's exactly what we felt like, right? We're being attacked, and now they've infiltrated the MLS. And in today's day and age, data mining is what everybody's doing. I mean, from your cell phone carrier to Google and Facebook and Twitter and everybody and their mom. And so when you feel like somebody has infiltrated the inside of the MLS that is actually trying to take you out of the business, then it's not a good feeling. And I'm glad you're here today.
I understand that, and that probably goes back 20 years ago when people started predicting the demise of the MLS, and so from an MLS perspective, we understand what you guys are feeling with all of this stuff because it ends up falling back on us, and there's all kinds of people that want to say that MLSs aren't useful, which we could talk for hours about how the organized marketplace is so important for what each and every one of our subscribers do.
I agree.
So I don't need to go there. I would like to reiterate the Zillow issue from the standpoint of how we got there. Not everybody, I guess, understands that, nor hopefully we can go a long way when we're talking about this stuff, understanding how serious that MetroList takes the listing content. We know right now that MLSs and brokerages are not receiving fair value back for their listing content. It's being sold. It's literally multi-billions of dollars. I'm recently working with somebody who is doing a study with 3 different universities, and they're trying to figure out the trickle down effects, all the economics when they tell you how valuable something is. And we're hopeful that we will start educating the 6 other MLSs in the NorCal MLS Alliance to that value, and that we'll get everybody lined up, because believe it or not, all the MLSs aren't like us. They're not as good as stewards of the data as we are. We have a compliance department that has 3 individuals. We're adding a 4th. They go out and audit these websites. They audit what Zillow's doing. Excuse me. But anyway, I digress. So we were the last major MLS holdout. We didn't trust Zillow. I was getting phone calls, you all didn't trust Zillow. But at some point in time, about 4 years ago, the phone calls started turning to the fact that, you know what? I just took a listing, and the first question out of the seller's mouth was, "Will this be on Zillow?" And so brokers and agents both started telling me, God, we hate it. We hate doing it, but they've got the consumers. My sellers want the information there. And at the time that we finally got ready, or the pressure, and I'll explain that in a minute, got to us, they were already receiving 65 to 70% of the listing content of MetroList
directly from the
they've
broker.
gone out and signed agreements with Realogy and Remax and other local large brokerage in our service area. So the data was there. There also was a group of smaller brokers that at that time could go in individually in and enter a listing so that they could get exposure for their sellers as well. We found it interesting. We went to the CAR meetings in early February, I believe it's 2017. And the representatives from Zillow said, hey, we're thinking about changing things. And that is, we're going to cut off any manual input of listings into Zillow. It's all going to happen via feeds. It either has to be a broker feed or an MLS feed. That's the only way it happens. Not to digress too much, but Zillow has a history, and why we all should be concerned with them, and why I am ultimately concerned with them, is they changed the game. They told us years ago they would never be a brokerage. They would never compete with the MLS. They've said all that stuff. They allowed property managers to put rentals up for nothing and said that we'll never charge you for it. And then they recently announced that. So it doesn't surprise me, but on Valentine's Day, they announced that they were no longer going to allow manual listings into the Zillow system. We went and did queries, and we found that there was over 1,200, that's 1,200 of our brokers that were entering listings manually. And they were basically medium to small brokerages. We then are faced with, because as the MLS, we're trying to make it fair for everybody. And remember, it's a cooperative and it's offering compensation, and playing by a set of rules. So it's fair as far as we can make it as your MLS, the organized marketplace. So we said, let's enter into negotiations with Zillow. And we did that. We entered into negotiations. Again, we would not accept any of their standard contracts. Stuff went back and forth many times. Again, dealing with Zillow is they would agree to things. They would agree to things in an email. We would put them into the contract. The contract would come back. It would be out of it. And I hope I'm not getting myself into trouble here with giving you too much information, but that's a fact of it. It's a fact. That's the way it went. And I don't think I'm under a non-disclosure with telling all of you that. Right. So again, it's just by way of saying we worked as hard as we could. We crafted what we think was one of the best. I've talked to MLS execs all over the country, bigger MLSs than us, same size, smaller, and they all felt that our agreement was as airtight as you could get with Zillow.
Well, I want to say something. So,
okay, I'll let you do that.
With this,
your show.
With this MLS thing and Zillow being now a broker, there's antitrust laws, there's broker laws that we have as realtors that we're not supposed to talk about other brokers and do any of that stuff. So now that they're a broker, we absolutely have to be very careful about how you talk in your posts, how you talk in that. And I'm talking to all my real estate agents out there, you know, what you say about another broker, because you can get in trouble and you will get in trouble. So this is not intended for that whatsoever. This is intended for informational purposes only.
And when I was talking about Zillow, the public facing website.
Correct.
I was not talking about Zillow, the brokerage, because I can tell you this right now, we are dealing with Zillow as a brokerage the same with every other brokerage. We are asking them to adhere to the exact same things. We're not going to give them anything more, and we're not going to give them anything less. They are a broker licensed in the state of California, and we treat everybody the same.
That's great. I'm glad you said that, because that was going to be my next question, you know. And I've heard other MLSs, not here in California, but in other places, that are treating them a little different, letting them do certain things. So as a broker, right, you cannot promote another listing. Essentially, you can't promote a listing that's not yours as a broker, right? And then there's also a rule where you cannot have your information, the listing information, or your information as the listing agent on the pictures that you post on MLS. Correct? So do you think that if we were allowed to do that, that would change the game?
Oh, to watermark the picture with the name? Well, yeah, because it's your client generally that you're sending that stuff out to, and why would you, advertise another brokerage on things that you're sending to your client? That is what the MLS is all about. We're curating, we're stewards of the data, and then we're making it possible for all of you to have that listing information so that you can use it with your clients how you need to use it, and not advertise another broker. Now, the internet and websites, that's the Wild West, and that's a whole another ball game. And in its wisdom years ago, they started what initially was called broker reciprocity, that led to then IDX, Internet Data Exchange, where brokers give each other permission to display their listings on their company website. But there are rules to that, and there's fair display guidelines. And the rules say that you have to give attribution to whoever that listing brokerage is. You can't just put them up there, because licensing law, as you well know, Rico, doesn't allow you to advertise another brokerage listings as your own.
Nope.
It has to be very clear that you're advertising that listing as a cooperative with the broker who owns the listing.
Correct. And that's what the IDX feed is for. Oh, right. Man, you know, I appreciate your time. I know you're short on time, and I really wanted to get you on here because not only in my office do we have questions, but all over there's questions, and you know, there's concern. And so I really appreciate you being here. I know you guys are doing everything possible to keep our MLS intact, and to keep the better interest of your clients, which is the real estate agent like me, intact. And so I appreciate what you guys are doing in the background, and I appreciate your time for being with us today. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the membership that watches the show? Well,
I want to thank you for allowing me to come and share this with you and your followers. And two is, if they haven't opened up the email that we sent last week, a message from the CEO with my shining picture there when I had a shorter beard, please go read that, and hopefully that answers your questions and reassures you that we're doing everything we can to make sure that we're protecting your data. We've been accused of trying to put you guys out of business, all kinds of stuff like that. That just isn't. We're here to service you. It is a cooperative. This is all of the brokerages getting together, joining a multiple listing service to say that we're going to have an offer of compensation, and we're going to cooperate by putting our listings into the system for the benefit of the good, more importantly, for the benefit of consumers. And the Department of Justice is out there on a witch hunt, and they're looking at two things. Is what organized real estate doing, is it in the best interest of consumers? And is it fairly, when it comes to competition, is it being conducted fairly? Is the field open for competition? And somebody trying to close that down is going to run afoul of the DOJ. So once again, thank you, Rico, and call me anytime. Be happy to join you.
Thanks,
As
Bill.
I said, you're one of the good guys.
Thanks, man. I appreciate your time, everyone. What I'm going to do is put the information to the support line below in case you had some questions on the support line on how to get your listings to maybe not use Showingtime if you have a concern with Showingtime. My information is down below. You guys all know you can get a hold of me if you have any questions. I appreciate your time. Bill, have a good one, man.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.